Let's call to order the Town of Hilton Head Island Design Review Board meeting for Tuesday, May 25th. Teresa, are we in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act?
Yes, sir, we are.
Thank you. Would you please call roll?
Certainly. Miss Lippert?
Here.
Mr. McAllister?
Here.
Mr. Molesky? I do see Mr. Molesky in attendance. He may be trying to dial in, so we'll circle back to him. Mr. Karstens?
Here.
Miss Foss?
Here.
Mr. Molesky? Mr. Gentleman?
Here.
And Miss Remke is excused.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. Move on to approval of the agenda. Does staff have any changes to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And board members, if you have any changes to the agenda, please state them when called on by Teresa. Otherwise, vote yes or no to approve the agenda. And do we have a motion to approve the agenda first?
I'll make a
motion to approve.
to approve the agenda as submitted.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. McAllister. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Second from Mr. Karstens. Now, Teresa, would you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Miss Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Miss Foss?
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes, so the agenda is approved. Moving on to approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 11th, 2021. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lippert. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Don't everybody jump in at once.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Molesky. I can't see you, but I can see you now. Okay. All right. Again, if you have any changes or comments when you're called upon, please state them. Otherwise, vote yes or no. Teresa, roll, please.
Certainly. Miss Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Miss Foss?
I'll abstain since I was absent.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Gentleman?
Yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 1 abstain, so it passes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let's move on to citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments today, Teresa?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, thank you very much. So let's get right to new business. Alteration addition for McDonald's renovation at 2 Plaza Drive, DRB 001061-2021. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your screen, you can see Highway 278 running diagonally from lower left to upper right. The site is outlined in red. A couple of things, there's a lot going on in this area, so I thought it would be prudent to point those out. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can just see the inside of the Parker's gas station that is under construction and was relatively recently approved. Diagonally across the intersection there in the left-hand side of your screen, above that is the old, right now you're seeing the old site for the gas station that's recently been renovated and rebuilt. And you can see the hotel there just above that, center top of your screen. The other important thing to remember is that you recently reviewed some renovations to Port Royal Plaza, which is directly behind your site. And staff anticipates as soon as next month, the first meeting in next month, directly across the street, in these two lots, there will be an application for an auto spa or a auto car wash that's moving forward. I just bring that to your attention because it begins to open up an opportunity to address all of this streetscape here. McDonald's plans to remodel the restaurant at the Mid-Island location. The scope of the remodel includes upgrading the exterior of the building, renovating the dining room, customer service areas, and restrooms. Site improvements include adding a drive-through bypass lane for better circulation, upgraded site lighting, and landscape improvements. The building improvements contemplated include an upgrade to the building facade for a more updated, modern look. These changes include: 1. The existing double mansard roof will be removed. A new parapet wall will be constructed in their place. A new brand wall with the M golden arches finished with false wood Euro West tile is proposed in the front dining elevations. The existing stone at the base of the building will be replaced with Savannah gray brick. The existing stucco siding on the building is proposed to remain as is. A new cash booth expansion is proposed along the drive-through as a bump out. And 6, the canopy attached to the brand wall is also part of the new modern corporate look that McDonald's has adopted for its restaurants. 7, a metal screen is proposed on the rear of the building to screen the rooftop units. 8, the floor plans show the new windows and storefront to be added. Site improvements are shown on the site plans and include the following. 1, to meet ADA guidelines, a new accessible path will be created from the building to the sidewalk along William Hilton Parkway. The ADA parking is also being incorporated along the new path to be more convenient to customers. All sidewalks along the building are being replaced to be ADA compliant as well. 2, to improve drive-through operation, a new bypass lane will be added alongside the drive-through lane. This will allow the drive-through to function more efficiently. 3, to further enhance drive-through operation, a roll-forward lane is being added to the front of the site. 4, 4 trees are proposed to be removed: a pine, a palmetto, a sweet gum, and a river birch. No specimen trees will be impacted. 5, new LED light fixtures will be installed to improve site lighting and customer safety. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Correct the landscape plan and schedule. 2, revise the lighting plan to eliminate light pollution beyond the property line. And 3, specify a color for the interior wall face of the dumpster enclosure. We're going to look at some photos of the existing structure as is. You can see the stucco, the stone, and the double mansard roof. The back elevation, that's the sweet gum that will be removed. And the Port Royal, just to get a flavor of adjacent architecture of the Port Royal Shopping Center. These are the proposed light fixtures for the parking lot. This is a lighting on the, what am I trying to say, icon wall. Down lighting. In putting this presentation together, staff missed this light fixture, it does not indicate that it comes in a 3000 Kelvin in here. So staff would ask that the applicant address that. And this is the existing site plan. This is the site plan demolition. So you can see all this grade or hatched area. The asphalt will be removed and replaced with concrete. And there you see the new site plan. I think it's important to note that this is also concrete. This area along here is also proposed to be concrete. The building renovations proposed. You can see the brand walls coming in here and the new cash booth. Roof plan with the section of the mansard, new mansard. Elevations of the building, again with the new brand wall. And here in the back, you can see the screening that was added to screen rooftop units. A section and detail of the construction of the brand wall. The dumpster enclosure. The color board that everybody should have had a chance to get a look at. And colored elevations of the building. Proposed landscape plan. Now staff's comment was there's some discrepancy between the schedule and the landscape plan, and that just needs to be fixed. The river birch that's proposed to be removed was right here, and that was a suggestion from staff to remove that and include the 3 live oaks here with some landscaping. Again, thinking about addressing this streetscape here and the improvements that will possibly happen over here relatively soon. This is the lighting plan. There is some lighting beyond the property line that needs to be shielded so that we reduce or eliminate that. And that concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you, Chris. Is the applicant present? If you would please identify yourselves.
We have the applicant online, Mr. Chairman. I don't know, there must be some problem.
I think somebody started.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Can you hear us? You can?
Yes. Yes.
Hi,
My
can y'all
name's
hear?
Greg. Yeah, Anthony's there. Anthony, you want to speak?
I do. I was having some trouble getting off mute. Hi, my name is Anthony Lynch with Integrity Engineering, and we are the applicants for this project. And also with my team on the call today are Greg Chapman, a representative from McDonald's Development, and Adam McWilliams, the project architect. So we thank you for your time today. We thank you for allowing us to come before you to review our proposal. This project has been on our list for quite some time to get going and get completed. So we're excited to get this done. I feel like we have a good application. Chris did a wonderful job going through it all. I won't go through all the details again because he covered it in good detail. So we are here to answer any questions you guys have. But again, we're excited to update this restaurant. It really needs it. We want to bring it out to be a more modern looking restaurant, but still have the same feel of Hilton Head Island, and to be a place that customers can look forward to going to. that operates well, that looks nicely in the community. And we think that we have a good application here to accomplish that. So with that, I will stop talking and let you guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. And I'm sure anyone from our team can answer whatever questions you have.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. First one is one of staff's comments was specify a color for the interior wall face of the dumpster enclosure. Do you have something in mind? Would you match one of the other board colors or?
Yes, that color we would typically match what we're going to paint the building. So we have this stucco color on the building. That's the color we would match, so everything is kind of cohesive.
Okay. Could you say the name of the color, please, so we have that on the record?
I think this is the Fairview taupe color. Is that right, Adam?
You are correct, Anthony. Fairview Taupe by Benjamin Moore.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we'll get to it. Please hang tight because I'm sure there'll be some questions. Let's start off with Miss Lippert.
All right, thank you. I think it's going to be great that this project gets a facelift. I do have a number of questions. Chris, if you could go to the color board, I think you may have that in there too. Because there was one element that looked like a very shiny silver. And I believe, is that the metal fascia cityscape?
Correct.
Okay, so I think that to me goes in line with the type of material that appears white in the sunlight to match the charcoal gray, especially in the iron or light fixture that is on that in line with the charcoal gray.
I'm sorry, Annette, could you ask that one more time?
Sure. So the LEL1 light fixture that is attached to the coping on the brand walls, and if I'm understanding correctly, that's called out to be an iron ore, that light fixture. Is that light fixture similar to that charcoal gray color?
Yes, very similar to that charcoal gray, correct.
Okay, so then all the more that cityscape, in my opinion, needs to become the charcoal gray.
I'm agreeable to that.
Then, let me just see here. I have to flip through my notes from the various pages. Above the new proposed brick wainscot, is the existing wood trim remaining?
Not immediately above the brick, not where the brick meets the stucco.
Okay, so then could you explain what that horizontal white band directly above the brick, what material that will be?
You'll have a brick roll-lock on top of the brick.
I see, okay, so that's what that white band is representing?
I don't see a white band. It looks brick to me, but
I'm on A2.0.
okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the colored elevations. Yes, that's a brick roll-lock.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's just if I'm unclear what it's going to be, I'd rather ask than have surprise when it's all built. Brick roll-lock. All right. And then while we're on that sheet, looking at the non-drive-through, I do really appreciate that you're trying to break up the long facade with stucco. However, to me, in this particular case, I'm not sure that the shutters, especially with the head height that they are shown, really are appropriate. I think because there are a number of, there's the wood trim that helps break it up. I think even if it is at those same locations and just eliminating the actual shutter and keeping the wood trim as you're showing it, which is kind of like a recessed stucco or projecting stucco panel, I think that would be more in keeping with the language of the facade. And going to A2.1, I think that a similar treatment of breaking up that long facade that's getting longer because of the addition, as a for instance, that gets broken up into 3 panels, that long stretch of the stucco, again with just an applied wood trim, I think would help break down the scale of that long wall. Let me just see if there was any other things. Based on my looking at the existing conditions on site, and I may ask Chris for you to help verify that. To me, it did not look like a black storefront. It actually looked like a dark bronze, a dark anodized storefront. There were a few random black cap pieces on some of that, but I guess I appreciate that you're trying to match what's there, but I would like confirmation whether that really is black or whether it isn't the anodized bronze.
You are correct with the anodized bronze.
Okay, perfect. So that, all that storefront then, that's currently called out as black on the drawings somewhere, will get revised to anodized, dark anodized bronze?
Correct.
Okay. And then my final question is about the tile that is on the brand wall. And the drawings to me appear to be clear that tile wraps at least all 3 sides of both of those.
Yes, the tile returns back to the main building wall. Correct.
Okay, I just think that's critical, and the reason I bring that up is because I pulled up, just online, some recent images of how that brand wall has, in a number of applications that I saw online, it was just on the front face, and it made it feel very applied and not volumetric. So I just wanted to emphasize that it's critical that it really, that entire brand wall. I will sort of throw out there it's certainly a nature blended color. And I understand that that's the rebranding, but the finish itself to me is more of an interior tile than material. But based on DRB standards, it's nature blending. So in that sense, I can't really say anything against it. But we'll see what the rest of the board has to say. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Annette. Let's go to Mr. Molesky.
Well, thank you very much. Let's see. The first thing I want to throw out, maybe if we jump over to the like a site plan, and I just want to throw this out. Perhaps you guys have as somebody who's, I've pulled in and out of the center before, and I guess based on what Mr. Darnell had shared with the improvements that I guess pending improvements across the street and all that kind of stuff, we could probably anticipate Plaza Drive to see a lot more traffic. And I wanted to ask, it looks like we have 2 means of egress to the site here. We'll call one of them closer to 278 and one of them further away from 278. Is there any merit to consider having those be one way only, just from the point of view of if somebody's trying to exit McDonald's from that egress that's closest to 278, and now you might have an influx of traffic coming and pulling in there? Is that become a little bit of a danger with, just the distance and sight lines and all that kind of stuff? I don't know if you guys had done any kind of study on that at all.
This is Anthony. I can address this one. So I think the difficulty with making that first drive an entrance only drive would be when you exit the drive-through, you would have to circle the building again to get out of the site, which
or maybe stop and buy something else. Now, hey, I'm going around. Maybe I'll buy a milkshake now. Increase revenue.
That's right. We try to keep them on site and get them through the drive-through. But I would be concerned that that would cause more congestion in the drive-through as people are trying to stack in and then they're trying to get out the same way.
So then if that, and I appreciate that answer then, so I'm assuming then that when we look at the landscaping plan that whatever is going in, being put into place and maybe whatever needs to be trimmed up around there will help, make that a safe sight line. So somebody looking to exit your site from that point closest to 278 can clearly see if there's somebody coming off of 278, just to avoid any potential congestion that might.
Yes, certainly. We can definitely look at that and make sure that we don't have any site visibility issues on that site triangle for sure.
Thank you with that. I agree with what Ms. Lippert said regarding breaking up the long walls there, especially I guess where the one window is where you stop to pay and the other window that you pick up. And again, whether that's accomplished through, just breaking that up into, maybe running some course of brick vertically or something like that, just to make that feel, since that's going to be the elevation, I guess, that's most prevalent from that Plaza Drive, apparently. Just a general comment here. I mean, I definitely personally like the more modern look of things, but I don't know if everything here kind of feels a little bit too dark and heavy, and I don't know how much of that, I know you guys aren't necessarily providing us with different options, but having that brick and then the tile that's dark and all that kind of those colors the palette that you're using there, has there been any consideration? And I guess staff has pretty much already approved the colors, and again they are nature blending and all that kind of good stuff. But any merit to considering maybe something that's a little lighter in shades or tones?
I do not believe that we've had any of our standard colors that we've used that would be any lighter. I think this is probably the lightest one that we've been using in recent history. Is that right, Adam?
Yeah, I think we prefer to keep the proposed color scheme if possible.
Yeah, no is an acceptable answer. You don't have to. Yeah.
Staff has a question sort of as a confirmation. The elevation that we're seeing here, the colored rendering, is not what it's going to look like. You're going to have that stucco is going to be the lighter color that's existing. Is that correct?
The stucco will be the Fairview taupe color on the sample board.
Okay. Then I misunderstood the narrative. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, those were my only comments there. I mean, the tile, even though it's interesting and it looks like it's taken on a wood look, perhaps is what I'm seeing here. It all just feels pretty dark, everything that I'm looking at there. But those are my only comments. That and just the egress and making sure that we have clear sight lines for people pulling in and out. Thank you for listening.
So, this is Greg Chapman. The rendering comes out a little dark on the brand walls. If you look at the sample board, it's more of it looks black in the rendering. It's more of a driftwood look. It's just tough to emulate tile with, computer pigment, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I'm finished.
All right. Thanks, John. Ms. Foss.
First of all, thanks for coming back. I thought we scared you away, and I really want to see that McDonald's improve. So thanks for being back. Michael, thanks for asking the color on the interior of the dumpster enclosure. And Annette, thank you for talking about the bright Cityscape, I think it's called, that is way too bright, and I agree that it should be charcoal gray. I also agree with those shutter comments that you made. The existing building has some vertical dividers for the stucco, and if you brought that back or just kept what you've got and paint those out, I think that will help. And also, I forget if they're on the drive-through side, but if you brought those through, I think that would just help the building and probably save you some money. I agree with staff comments on that they need to see the Calvin on the light fixture. And otherwise, I think it looks really nice. I'm excited. I think that all the comments, if everyone else agrees, could be approved by staff as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Kathy, what was your comment on the light fixture? I didn't get that one.
Chris brought it up. He said that one of the light fixtures doesn't address that it's 3,000 Kelvin.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Kathy. Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think it's a great project. It's going to be a big improvement for the restaurant, and looking forward to see it get implemented. A lot of good comments so far. I won't be redundant. I'll just hit on a couple that I had on my list. I do agree with the comments about the metal fascia. I think the matching it with the charcoal gray will be appropriate. All of staff's comments were spot on. I also noticed some discrepancies with the plant schedule and what we saw in the plan. But from what I'm seeing in the plan, I support it. I just think we just need to double check the schedule and vet that. And I agree with Miss Annette's comments about the drive-through facade. I think if there's something you can do to address that long expanse of wall, that would be nice. And I think that's all I have. Otherwise, I think it's a nice submittal, and looking forward to seeing it get built.
Thanks, David. Mr. Karstens?
I too will look to support the comments on architecture to date. A couple things when it comes to the site plan. Knowing that the dumpster enclosure is going to be modified in the facade, right now there's a lot of overgrown plant material around that is probably going to get demoed. So I'd like to see in the planting plan, maybe you provide 7-gallon Walters viburnums around the dumpster enclosure, at least on the Plaza Drive side, and maybe on the side, Jason, with the Jiffy Lube. Just knowing that I mean, it's going to get removed because it's right up against that enclosure. The streetscape along Plaza Drive, let's add additional Walters viburnums just to create a constant hedge, knowing that there's kind of overgrown material that's coming out. Let's just get that hedge nice and consistent across the entire of that back to the parking. Also, and I'll ask the board and especially my colleague, Mr. McAllister, the recommendation that those live oaks, right now they're at the 10 to 12 foot, 2-inch caliper size. If the thought might be is to bump these up to 4-inch caliper trees and try to get a little more size out of them. I will leave that, it's my recommendation, but I'll let anybody shoot me down on that if they think that that's too egregious. Finally, understanding that there's going to be update to pavement markings, is there any the site signage, the directional signage, the entry, the drive-through, some of the directional signages around the site, are those also going to be updated? And I know typically when we get a site plan package, signage for the building is separate permit, but we often see at least the directional signage, especially if it's going to be improved or even illuminated, that those come typically part of the package. Anthony, is there the thought to have an update to the directional signage?
So Judd, yes, we usually like to have the directional signage updated. For these types of projects, we have been leaving it up to the operator and letting it be their choice. So I mean, we can bring that up to them. They probably would want to update these directional signs. So we can take a look at that and find a type of sign that would fit the Hilton Head Island requirements and see if we can get those updated as well with the project.
Okay, I know I'd certainly appreciate that. You know, they've got a number of signs there off of Plaza Drive that are entrance, exit, and so forth. And that also might help to Mr. Molesky's point about the ingress and egress of the site, that along with the updated pavement markings. So beyond the streetscape comments and the recommendation for upsizing the live oaks, that is all I have, along with seconding a lot of the architectural comments today.
Thanks,
Just
Judd.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
if
go
I
ahead,
could
Chris.
just a minute, building on Judd's comments, I would just remind the applicant that signage, you can't have internally illuminated signage. It has to be all externally illuminated. And that's again, as he said, that's a separate permit. And if you have any questions, I can certainly direct you to the person that will address that.
Got it. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Mr. McAllister, you in agreement with Judd's
Yeah, I'll add
additional
on to
landscape
Judd.
comments?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with certainly what he said about the streetscape feel, adding some shrubs to get a continuous hedge along Plaza Drive. Good catch on the dumpster enclosure. Agree with that. And I'll also support upsizing to 4-inch caliper trees. Since we're going to be losing some verticality and some trees on site, we've got a little bit of a precedence where we've requested that before. So I would support that comment.
All right, thank you. All right, Judd, be prepared to amend a motion here with all that. So I think everybody will be in agreement with your comments. Yeah, the team hit on it really well. So my job's easy. I don't have a lot to say. A question: where, Anthony? Where is the Iron Mountain color? Where does that occur?
Let me get over to one of the elevations here. Do we have Iron Mountain on this one, Adam? I don't know that we do.
I couldn't find it, but that
I
doesn't
don't
mean it's
think
not
we do.
there. I'm terrible at finding things, but yes, I think all your stucco was all the taupe and the charcoal gray.
I think that's right. We don't
Okay.
have the Iron Mountain on this.
All right, we'll just make a note that the Iron Mountain is not part of the color scheme. Annette, I'm probably going to ask you to kick off the motion portion. So if you'd make a note of that, please. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot. I thought Annette was spot on with all her comments, and I support all of them. And the landscape architects are a lot better at that than I am, so I support all of their items, and including the staff. Just to be clear, Chris or David or Judd, item 1 on the staff conditions, it says correct the landscape plan and schedule. We've decided that the plan is correct and the schedule needs to be updated. Is that correct?
My comment was that the plan I was okay with, but if you go through, like the schedule says there's 2 palms, but you can count 4 palms, that kind of thing. So there was just some quantity discrepancies on the schedule, but I understand the plan, how it stands.
Okay, so the plan would be good, other than the comments we're going to add in the motion, and then that the schedule should be updated to reflect the plan. I just want to make sure that was
That's
clear
correct.
because I didn't catch that. And congratulations, McDonald's team, because usually we're trying to get people to make their buildings darker instead of lighter, like Mr. Molesky wants you to do. So you've kind of hit a new chord there. But yes, nature blending darker is better than white and lighter on Hilton Head. So I think we're going to be good there. So any on the board, any additional follow up? All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
I would be happy to, since you were half tossing it my way anyway.
Thanks, Annette.
All right, I'd like to make a motion for approval with conditions for DRB 001-061-2021, with the conditions being as follows. All of staff comments with the clarification that the landscape plan is the one that the schedule needs to be matched to. So the schedule needs to be matching the plan, and the plan is the one to follow with the additions that Judd will kindly add later. The dumpster enclosure inside face wall to be the stucco color Fairview taupe. The storefront to be dark bronze anodized. The MF fascia and coping color to be revised to charcoal gray. The shutters to be eliminated. And just the wood trim to create the panelized look. The breakup of the drive-through elevation with similar panelized trim to break up that long stucco wall. The light temperature on the one light fixture that did not appear to have a 3000 Kelvin temperature to be confirmed. A confirmation that the Iron Mountain is not part of the color scheme. And that concludes my motion, and I would ask Judd to modify that motion.
All right, Mr. Carsons, like to add to that?
I'll amend that motion to include at the dumpster enclosure the removal of existing screening material, and once construction is complete, replacement with 7-gallon Walters by Burnham to match those on the Plaza Drive frontage. On the Plaza Drive frontage, to have a continuous hedge of the Walters by Burnham across all parking areas and outside of site triangles. And finally, the 3 live oaks located along Plaza Drive in the parking area, those to be sized at 4-inch caliper, 14 to 16 foot height at install.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lippert, do you accept the additions to your motion?
I do.
And would you state that these may be reviewed and approved by staff?
I will. I would like to amend my motion for approval with conditions that all of the noted conditions can be reviewed by staff for approval.
All right, I think we got it. Any other discussion or additions or subtractions? Okay, would someone like to second the motion?
I'll second.
We have a second from Ms. Foss. So, Teresa, would you please call roll?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. Molesky,
Yes.
Mr. Carstens,
Yes.
Ms. Foss,
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman.
Yes, so motion with conditions passes unanimously. So Anthony, Adam, and Greg, thank you for your time, and good luck finishing up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, let's move on to next item, Lions repaint DRB 001096-2021. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your screen, you can see Follyfield Road running diagonally from the bottom left to the top right of your screen. The site is outlined in red. Of interest, directly across the street in this area is Islanders Beach Club. You can see the old tennis court site right here. And you can see Wimbledon Court running behind the site. It's actually addressed off of Wimbledon Court. Does everybody know where we are? And if not, let me know. So I think everybody knows where we are. This application is for a color change to the 6 buildings with 12 owners at 9 Wimbledon Court. Sherwin-Williams 7603 Dockside is the proposed building base, with Sherwin-Williams 6246 North Star the trim. There is no lattice on the Follyfield side of the building. The bulk of the North Star color is in the interior of the complex on lattice facing the pool, and we'll see pictures of that. Staff recommends approval as submitted. So first, we're going to look at just some pictures of the surrounding area. Here you can see the Lions fence, which is running down Follyfield Road. Just another shot of it. This is some. Now we're going to look at some existing buildings adjacent to the site in that same area. This is off Follyfield Road. This is off Wimbledon. This is back off Wimbledon as well. This is the proposed color schemes, color board. And here's some elevations of the building. With respect, the color is maybe not communicated as well on these images, so I would ask that the board look at the color board and make their decision based on that. But here you can see the Follyfield side. Again, there's no lattice on the bottom. This is where the garage doors open. This is the side of those buildings. There's more lattice here, obviously. And the pool side that we were talking about, again, the addition of the lattice on this side, which would be the North Star. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chris. The applicants present? If so, please identify.
Over.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. This is Nancy Samus, the president of the Lions. And thank you, Chris, for your presentation because you're spot on with that. The only addition that I might have to talk about is the fact that from Follyfield Road to our buildings, it's 94 feet. And in between that entire area, which I measured personally, you have some green there off Follyfield Road. You have the bike path, and then you have sort of like a dirt wooded area. Then you have, Chris, are you going back? And then you have the 6-foot fence, and then on the other side of that, you have this a large area with a lot of vegetation and trees. Then you have our access road, and then you have our building. So we are actually 94 feet from that road. And you barely can see our homes from that area. And I just wanted to make one other note, Chris. That's the Islanders. That's the beach park there, directly across the street. But I think that's immaterial. I think that is all that we have to add. I wanted to thank Chris Darnell because I had asked him if he would come over and meet with me just so we could look at the site and that he would be able to see the placement of the lattice that does not interfere with any views, and it's the majority of it is on our and that's not, let me start all over. The lattice is on the sides and in the front, down below by the garage. The porches, which we have the other one, you can see the front porch. We would request that the trim color be used just on the railings and on the lattice below. The pillars would be kept the same base color. And none of this can be seen from the road because we have our grills in there and we have our swimming pool. And I think that's about all that I have to add. But we did really have a very good discussion with regard to color. And one of my concerns was the fact that we have, I think Chris had said it was weathered wood roofing was the color. And I just wanted to make sure that everything matched along with that. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Nancy. All right, well, let's run through our order here and see if anybody has any questions for you. Let's kick off with Mr. Molesky.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to make a suggestion with the columns and that, but you just kind of addressed that by, it sounds like you are not intending to paint the columns, only focused on the body color of the building. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, all in all, I'll go along with staff. I think it'll look great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Ms. Foss?
I'm in line. I agree to approve it.
Thank you. Short and sweet. Mr. McAllister?
Thank you to the applicant for listening to us and working with staff. I like the new colors. I think they're much more in keeping with the design guidelines, so I support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Mr. Karstens?
I'll second Mr. McAllister. No additional comments.
All right, and thank you, Judd. Ms. Lippert?
I'm going to be the one dissenter. Because to me, I guess last time, and I'm a little torn on this, I guess last time my understanding was we were indicating blue was not a nature blending color, and while it's maybe a more muted blue, so that's one sort of question. Even if it's set back 94 feet, if this was another project, I don't think that just having a trim and one additional color, the massing of this building, I think it makes it yet more volumetric. I would have required a second color to help break down the volume of the building. Action on the building alone does it. So I cannot give approval on this one.
All right, thank you, Annette, for the input. Yeah, I saw the color board, and I think the blue has a good amount of gray in it. So I'll join the majority here and including staff and side in favor. So it sounds like we have a majority in one direction. Anybody, any final comments? All right, I'll just go ahead and make the motion for motion to approve Lions repaint DRB 001096-2021 as submitted. We have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Foss. Teresa, would you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Miss Lippert,
No.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. Molesky,
Yes.
Mr. Karstens,
Yes.
Miss Voss,
Yes.
Mr. Gentleman.
Yes, motion passes by a count of 5-1. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
painting.
We
Happy
appreciate
painting.
it. Thank you.
Okay, right, right. Let's move on to next item, Dino's Italian Restaurant, DRB 001183-2021. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You can see Greenwood Drive at the top of your screen with Sea Pine Circle there on the right-hand side. The site is outlined in red. It's commonly known as the Bermuda Triangle, so there's several restaurants and bars in this area. We're specifically going to be looking at this building here. Of note is that this site backs up to the Fern IM restaurant site, which was recently, you all did a final approval on that. And just a little bit more orientation off to the far left is Park Plaza Shopping Center with Harris Teeter, Marley's, and Nectar's out here. Does everybody know where we are? And if not, let me know. Looks like we do. So moving on. This is a little bit of a lengthy description, but I think it's important because there are several things going on, and I think we need to understand exactly what we're looking at. Dino's Italian proposes to renovate Unit 7D Greenwood Drive and the adjacent courtyard. The courtyard will remain the existing footprint. A new masonry wall finished in stucco to match the building will enclose the courtyard on the parking lot side, with an aluminum fence on the pathway side. Brick piers at the corners of the courtyard will form the base for the wooden pergola columns, with intermediate piers open at the top to serve as planters. The courtyard shall have a stamped concrete surface throughout. Plantings surrounding the courtyard will visually soften the appearance of the walls. The pergola will support decorative light fixtures for use in the space at night. Wiring in conduit shall be located above pergola framing members and otherwise concealed from view. The existing concrete outdoor bar shall have a veneer of brick applied to the outward faces. The bar top, a stained and sealed concrete slab, shall be refinished in an opaque mottled epoxy to simulate a natural stone slab. The existing wall behind the outdoor bar shall receive a new full-glass multi-panel bifold door, with the remaining wall to be veneered in brick with the door edge to the right hand on the parking lot side corner. The existing independent wall supporting the portico roof at each building entrance shall have a brick veneer for continuity with the courtyard renovation. Brick piers shall be added to the area to the left of the interior One Hot Mama's side entrance, with aluminum fence railings between them. The inoperative door to the right of this entrance shall be replaced with a fixed glass window. A new glass door shall be installed at the left front corner of the building for access to the bathrooms from the courtyard. The right side wall of the kitchen will be moved to 6.5 inches, 6.5 inches in from the edge of the existing roof overhang on the service yard side. The kitchen wall at the front of the building will be similarly moved to the edge of the existing roof overhang. These new walls will be sided in 8-inch T111 vertical wood paneling and painted to match the adjacent stucco wall color. Note that the new and renovated elements are substantially concealed by the adjacent buildings, existing trees, and vegetation separating the project area from Greenwood Drive, Sea Pine Circle, and Pope Avenue. All existing parking areas and site lighting shall be unchanged. So staff recommends approval with the following conditions. 1, add note to the electrical plan that the proposed light source will not exceed 3000 Kelvin. 2, revise the landscape plan for more site-appropriate plants and spacing for staff review and approval. And 3, specify on the drawings that window and door frames are to match existing. So this is a survey of the entire site. Again, there's One Hot Mama's is here. I believe Riley's is here. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the other restaurant that's here, of the boardroom maybe. But we're looking at specifically at this building, and you can see the patio area right here. So that's the One Hot Mama's entrance, and then the opposite entrance. Just some views of the existing structure. Again, this is the One Hot Mama's side and the parking lot side. And you can see that wall that we're speaking of. And this is the kitchen. I believe this is the kitchen wall that'll be moved out right here. Again, the surrounding architecture. Just some images of what the renovation would look like. This is the proposed demo plan, I guess. So you can see the wall over here is moved out to the edge of the roof overhang. The new piers here, and then the piers and wall around the patio here. This is the door that allow access to the restrooms from the patio. This is the bar that's going to be resurfaced in a brick veneer with that epoxy finish to look like a natural stone here. Again, this is what's proposed out to change on the building. The wall there at the kitchen, that. What this will look like, again, with the patio covering and the bar and the plan for the kitchen renovations. Sections through the walls and columns on the patio. The color board, my apologies for the rendering of this, but this was available for you all to look at. Colored elevations, an electrical plan. It is important to note that on the details, there was a note to conceal the conduit, electrical conduit, and the landscape plan. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thanks, Chris. We have the applicants present, and would you please identify?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we have David Robertson on the line. David, you appear to be muted.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, David, would you like to add to Chris's narrative?
I think Chris has covered it very well. I looked at the staff comments, and I had intended to note that regarding the light sources being 3,000 Kelvin or less. I think he hit all the points.
All right, thanks. If you would hang tight, we're going to run through the order here. I'm sure there'll be some questions. We'll start off with Ms. Foss.
I'm actually okay with the project. I agree with staff comments, and I think it could be brought back for staff approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Mr. McAllister?
All right. Overall, I have no problem with the project. I think the architecture, I think it looks nice, but I'm going to lean on my architect peers here. I do have several comments related to the landscape plan. One thing on my list, I noticed in the narrative, you said that no trees are going to be removed, but there is like an existing tree in that parking landscape island. There's an existing palm, so I don't think you would remove that to put a new palm in. And I guess one question just overall I had was, there are some existing plants and foundation shrubs. Is the intent to just rip all that out and do new plantings?
The intent is only to do new plantings along the aluminum fence on the boardroom side of the pathway in section C2 and C1. So there's that area there, and then everything that is around the new courtyard area at the One Hot Mama's entrance, that would be new plantings there. Otherwise, we would preserve the existing.
Okay, that would be one of my comments is down between the main entrance of the building and the parking lot. There's a lot of nice looking landscape that, it looks like there's no reason to pull it out and put like the boxwoods and do new plantings there. One of my comments saw where there were date palms that were proposed. This doesn't have to be a comment in the motion. It's just a suggestion to consider another species. They get really big and they produce the fruit and could be messy in the patio. And I would be concerned about on the patio, kind of on the left, there's 2 date palms proposed right there. Those would grow into the trellis, I would think. So I would recommend just maybe reevaluating that. And maybe Judd can weigh in on it and offer his 2 cents as well. And I do agree with staff's comments about some of the spacing of new plantings. They could probably be packed in a little bit more to get a better hedge and sort of soften the hardscape up a little bit. And those are my main comments, really. They're just landscape related. Again, I would try to retain what's existing as much as you can, and be sure to coordinate new plantings with what's existing on site.
Yes, sir.
That it, David?
Yep. Sorry, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Karstens?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the applicant's efforts in unifying the interior patio walls with the fence and then just differentiating those from the exterior walls. I think that had been a comment in the previous submittal. One thing I'll say about the trellis, there's obviously been detail put in the top. I think that that post base connector, I think there probably should be a fascia or just a treatment around the base of the wood post with the top of the column, just to clean that up instead of having that post just sit within that post base. So I'd wrap that in just a 1x material with the chamfer. The A301.3, the section with the columns right there and the planter, I don't see any plant material called out in the planting plan for what's going to go in there. Having individual columns like that with plants on top definitely draws a lot of attention to them. So we're going to need to know what's going to go in there. If it's just the thought that it's a column that doesn't support a post, Sometimes those aren't that bad, or you could even put an urn on top versus having a recessed planter. So we're going to need to know what's going in there. And when it comes to my last item, when it comes to the planting plan, I'm very confused as far as what's there, what's proposed, and what's coming out. I'd really like to see it. It almost seems as though it's a inventory of what's there and a potential for what could go in. So in knowing, like we talked about with McDonald's folks, you know, when you go in and you disturb around plant material, you're bound to end up either damaging some beyond kind of their structure, especially when it's right adjacent to a structure that's being modified. So I think care should be taken that if you're trying to preserve something, you're going to really want to make sure you put a barrier with, you know, because between a footer and the other things associated with columns, a lot of stuff gets tore up. So I would hate to lean on staff when it comes to approval for a landscape plan that isn't very clear. But I'm kind of at a loss. I couldn't necessarily understand the landscape plan. So those would be my comments for the applicant, is that we need to have a better demo plan when it comes to what landscape's coming out and what's staying, the limits of construction when it comes to that patio, and understanding that impact that those footers are going to have. Those are my main things with the landscape plan, and of course the treatment for the post space. So I don't necessarily have any questions. I just have a lot of comments. So.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Parsons.
Judd, are you with potential staff review on a new landscape plan? Are you would you like to see it? Would you be part of staff +1 review, or do you think staff would be fine?
No, I mean, I think that either David or I, it would be great if we could circle back on it with staff just to you know, confirm the material coming out and what's going back in and its appropriateness. I think I certainly have confidence in staff, but if they'd like some support, I think David or I can make ourselves available.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lippert?
I think in concept, the project is fine. I think similarly to Judd struggling with the landscape plan, I have the same concerns with the architectural drawings, particularly with the elevations of not really being sure what is being proposed to be revised or not because of discrepancies to what is actually there now. I think the narrative helps a lot. I'm hesitant where the narrative sort of makes the description for the project. I wish that the drawings were more accurately representing what is existing, and just to name a couple examples, those two vertical walls, at least to me, appear like they currently are two different heights. The horizontal element on the one facing the courtyard of the other restaurant actually is flush with that wall. So I was like struggling to understand, is it being proposed that the height is being changed because the opening proportion of the opening to the height is very different in the field than is what's on the drawings. So maybe it's just a clarification. No height change, simply just apply a brick veneer to that. That's a question to the applicant.
Yes, it's just a matter of applying the brick veneer to the existing wall and leaving the existing wall and the roof plane alone otherwise.
Okay, so just brick application. And then will the coping be added on top of that?
Yes.
And did we get a color submission on that?
No, we did not. It was just a brick for the veneer itself.
I think we need to know what the coping color that's going on brick wall is, and is the trellis connecting to the existing mansard roof?
It is not. It's going to be very
Okay.
close to the building to give the appearance, but we're holding it off the roof so we don't make any roof penetrations.
Okay, so there's like a couple inch gap?
About a 2-inch gap.
Gotcha, okay. Let me see. One of my concerns on the front elevation, there's currently a little service yard fence in the area where that new door to the bathrooms is being proposed. There's an
Yes.
electric panel and what looks to be an instant hot water heater mounted to that wall, which now will become exposed. I think that somehow needs to be addressed. And what is your thinking on that?
My intent was to relocate as much as possible to the inside of the building. That's a service area inside that wall.
Okay, so I think that needs to, I mean, I don't know that you could relocate the electric panel. I think that has to be exterior. I think we would need the confirmation that the instant water heater, which is a white element, needs to get relocated to the interior.
We'll note it as such.
Sorry, I'm taking notes here. Okay,
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's where the kitchen expansion is. Sorry, right there on A202 where it says kitchen expansion. So that will still be on an exterior wall. That's inside the service yard. The area that we were looking at previously on the front elevation, that is not. There is a small amount of equipment there, but that can be brought to the inside of the building. That's where we're going to take the fence down and just make the entrance going into the bathrooms. We're looking at the opposite corner of the building.
So if we can go back to that photo, and maybe I was turned around on the site, but.
Okay.
Okay, the new door location, bottom right picture.
If we're looking at sheet A100.
Well, we're looking at A202.
Okay. A202.
And bottom right, it says new door location.
Okay, so that picture that shows.
Fence is getting eliminated, correct?
Yes, but that location, if you look on sheet A100, is actually at the bottom left corner where it says remove this fence. That is not the kitchen. That is adjacent to the courtyard. There used to be chiller equipment there when the Hilton Head Brewing Company was located in the building, and that service yard is now vestigial. The equipment shown in that picture that we were looking at, the photo where it said kitchen expansion,
Yeah, but
that
that's
is
not what I'm
actually
talking
located
about.
at the opposite corner where the kitchen is, and it says.
But that's not what I'm talking about, because I looked through that service yard fence. There's an electric panel and an instant water heater inside that service yard that's now getting exposed. At least to the best of my recollection, that's in that new door location service yard. There are two things on that wall. One is a white instant water heater and one is an electric panel. Again, I could be wrong, but if those to me should not become exposed elements, especially with the water heater being a white surface mounted water heater.
I agree.
So I stand by my my statement, my condition that water heater needs to get moved to the interior.
I will make that a note on the plan to address that.
Okay, thank you. On the rear elevation, on A201, thank you. There is a horizontal mullion in that bay of 2, 4, 6, what is going to be 7 windows. And underneath that horizontal mullion, it's I couldn't quite tell if it's an opaque glass or if it's been a surface applied. I'm presuming that the new panel will also have that horizontal mullion?
Yes,
Okay, and then will it be opaque also below the mullion?
yes.
Okay. Um, all right, let me just double check whether there's, at the bar, which is the left elevation, there are some can lights in the underside of that mansard roof. Are those to remain?
Yes.
Okay. Just flipping through my papers one more time here, but I think that concludes my comments. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Thanks, Annette. Mr. Molesky.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. I guess is the main front elevation, at least the way that you guys have it labeled on there, is going to be more street side parking lot side than necessarily that little gathering area where the other restaurants are. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
kind of the intention?
That is correct.
So that horizontal overhang there that I see, which looks like it's kind of repeated on both sides, are there recessed cans that are built in there to light up that area at all, or is that just
Yes, there are existing lights in each of those.
okay? So nothing that I see on here that's proposed to do any kind of wall sconces to the left and right of the doors or anything like that to add any additional illumination there. You aren't proposing.
That's correct. We are not proposing to do.
Okay. Looking at the details of the smaller columns, you have them called out as 40 inches high, and then it looks like you have a height of 38 inches, both for the fence and what appears to be the top of a foam cap over the stucco wall. I would just say be real careful there that those don't start getting muddied up and interfere. I mean, I think it looks a lot cleaner and this might just be a little nitpicky thing, but I think it would look a lot cleaner if those were kind of distinct, having the brick column definitely feel that it's proud of the stucco wall and or the aluminum fence. And I don't know if these dimensions here make it look like that they're getting pretty close to one another, just for what that is worth, to keep that clean. The kitchen expansion area there, and again, this is probably just more of an interior construction thing here, but I see you have a note in there that says, remove this wall. I'm assuming that there's going to be, in fact, that picture right there, A301.6. I'm assuming there'll be some type of beam that'll be put in place there to pick up that load, as it looks like that little mansard roof is just more of an appendage that's added.
Yes, the structure of the building doesn't require those walls. It's supported on steel columns. So removing that exterior wall, it's basically just a partition to enclose it from the outside. It's not bearing anything.
Okay, so even though it looks like in this picture here that joist up above there looks like it was bearing on that wall that you're going to remove, that's not the case.
No, sir. There's actually a steel C-channel there that's supported on W steel at the corners, and then the bar joists are attached to that, and the mansard is a light gauge steel that goes around the perimeter attached to it.
All right, good. Well, I figured you would have looked into that, but just in case I don't want any
I've worked extensively on these buildings. I do know them well.
any surprises. Cool. Other than that, yeah, the only comment that I really have to share in addition to anything that Ms. Lippert had shared is I think last time you came around, I just kind of was questioning the stucco knee wall, for lack of a better word, around the courtyard as opposed to having that be, an aluminum type of product that would maybe allow more air circulation. I'm sure you have your reasons for making that, a solid stucco wall. Does that stucco wall go again all the way to the floor, or is there a little bit of a relief for sweeping out leaves and drainage and all that kind of good stuff?
That will go all the way to the floor with the intent to put weep holes spaced out along the wall so water will flow through it.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you, Mr. Molesky.
Thank you, John. All right, looks like it's my turn. Just a couple of questions. The entry, feature entries, it'll have brick on all sides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to make sure that's noted somewhere in any motion. On sheet A100, the A100, please. Kind of the upper right side where you're removing a wall and then replacing the wall that's 6.5 inches set in. Is there going to be, where that wall is now gone, is there going to be a foundation sticking out there in that, right where the hand is?
No, that was actually a service yard area that someone had just built a wall there on top of the existing service yard slab. It was not ever part of the original building. So we intend to take that down. It's used as a storage area.
Okay, so there's no slab sticking out 6 inches there.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, I'll back up, I believe, Ms. Lippert's comments that some of these things were a little hard to follow because the drawings aren't totally complete. I mean, they say not for construction, and we should probably be looking at construction drawings. But that's just a comment. One other comment on the concealed conduit. The narrative says the conduit is concealed on top. How do you get the conduit up there to conceal it? It has to run up something, right? Correct? It has to run up a column or a wall or something to get up there since it's detached from the building?
That is the one thing where I intended to penetrate the roof plane and seal that penetration to bring the conduit through.
Okay, all right. So we want to put in any kind of motion that the conduit is not to be visible. So if everybody can just make a note of that. What else? Oh, your sheet of brick detail sections. Let's see what number that was. That was A301. It's calling out a soldier course cap where really that's either it's either a row lock or a header. Is the brick laying flat or is it up on its side?
It's laying flat.
Okay, so that would be a header. It's a picky thing, but not a soldier. If it was a soldier, it'd be standing straight up. So just because that note is repeated several times, I just wanted to make sure that was.
I appreciate the correction.
Okay, and other than that, I'm good. I like I said, I would like to have had more drawings, but I think we by piecing it together, we can see what the intent is, and maybe we can get through this with a motion. Anybody have any follow-up comments? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion? Anybody?
I will make a motion for,
Okay.
let's see here. For DRB 001183-2021 for approval with the following conditions. All of staff comments. In addition to that, an updated planting plan to clarify what is there, what is to be removed, and what is to be new. This is to be reviewed by staff and one landscape architect DRB member, board member. A review of detail 301.3, either to clarify what plant material will go in the recess or whether it gets revised so that an urn can be on top. A note to clarify that the 2 vertical wall elements wrapped on all sides with brick, no other modifications to them, and will have a coping cap. The coping color shall be submitted for staff approval. In the service yard area where the fence is being removed for the new door to lead to the bathrooms, it shall be confirmed that whether there is an instant water heater on the wall, so it shall be relocated to the interior, acceptable for the electric panel at that location to remain. On the rear elevation, the new glazing panel shall have the same horizontal mullion as the existing panels and an opaque panel to match the existing below the horizontal mullion. It shall be reviewed whether the railing and stucco walls in between the brick piers at the courtyard shall be disaligned further beyond what is currently shown in the details. The detailed notes on the brick cap shall be corrected, such as to, it looks like a running bond with just an overhang. It shall be noted that no conduit shall be visible in its routing to the trellis. The trellis will not connect to the existing mansard roof. And that concludes my motion for approval with conditions.
There was one more in that, unless I missed it in your list. Mr. Karstens had brought up that the post space anchors are visible and should be wrapped in 1x material to conceal them.
Yes. Do you want me to modify the motion with that?
Yeah, you can just go ahead and modify your own motion.
Okay, I'll modify the motion to also include that the post base shall be wrapped in a 1x stock to hide the mounting elements.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion, comments, additions, or subtractions? All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Looked like a tie. I'll give that one to Mr. McAllister. Second by Mr. McAllister. Teresa, would you please run roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Molesky?
Yes.
Mr. Karstens?
Yes.
Ms. Foss?
Yes.
Mr. Genselman?
Yes. The motion with conditions passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and we'll see you further down the road. David, good luck with the project.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Okay. see, what do we got next? Islanders Beach Park Overlook, DRB 001184-2021. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've got Folly Field Road running diagonally across the left-hand side of your screen. The Lions that we just looked at was right here, and this is Islanders Beach Club. I'm sorry, I don't know what I said earlier, but it is Islanders Beach Club. She's right. The site that we're looking at is within the circle here. You can see the boardwalk to the beach on Islanders, and that structure would be located right here. We have surf. It's Barony right here, and the Weston and the old tennis court site here. Does everybody know where we are? And if not, let me know. Looks like everybody does. This new overlook at the Islanders Beach Park gives those residents and visitors who are physically limited in their ability to get onto the beach the opportunity to enjoy the beach and ocean views in a foot-stable, covered environment. The overlook is intended to keep the same building materials and elements as the existing park construction, allowing the overlook to fit seamlessly into the park's theme. The railing on the ocean side of the overlook includes steel cables to maximize the views from a seated position, and we'll look at that in a minute. Staff recommends approval as submitted. So again, we're kind of zooming in. This is a survey of the boardwalk going out to the beach and the Atlantic Ocean here. Just an illustration of the railings and back restroom building at the park. There's a shelter and a bench. These are existing. And this is the proposed overlook. Again, it should be noted that the top two rails or horizontal members on only the ocean side of this structure will be steel cable. This allows for maximum views out without the obstruction of all that wood up at eye level. And it should be pointed out that there is a bench on the back side that wraps around the back side. Again, this being the ocean side of that pavilion with that special rail right here, and then the rails to match the existing around the remainder of the structure. And again, there's the boardwalk out to the beach, and you can see how it sits off that boardwalk. That concludes staff's presentation.
All right, thank you, Chris. I see we have Mr. Barry Taylor with us today. You out there, Barry?
I'm here, Michael.
Would you please identify yourself again? Thank you.
I'm Barry Taylor. I'm with the FWA Group Architects. We're working with the town in the development and design of this project. And as Chris has stated, we're keeping with what's there. Earlier shelters that we had designed for the park.
All right. So, any other details to add or anything, or Chris do a good job?
I think Chris did a very good job.
All right, then. Well, let's go through our order here. If you'd hang tight, we'll start with Mr. McAllister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a great project for the community. Looking forward to seeing this get implemented. The only question I had is regarding the colors. I know we're matching the existing restroom facility, but could you clarify, are the structure, like the posts, are they going to be stained to match, or will they be getting painted like the body color of or trim color of the restroom?
They'll be stained to match, and it's more in line with matching the picnic shelter.
The pavilion. Okay.
Right.
Okay, that was my only question. I think it looks great. No other comments.
All right, thank you, David. Mr. Carstens?
I'm on board, obviously, with the structure and everything associated with it. I take it, this is the area where we've had the laydown area for the beach renourishment. And so there's been kind of a construction access along that eastern extreme of the park frontage. Is that the intent, to have the construction access, or is most of it going to happen through the boardwalk, Barry? And then,
Like you
Okay.
said, Judd, there's a road, actually a road laid down to the north of that property, and they would come in right there to drive piles, whatever they have to do to anchor it.
Okay. And I know the town's good about remediating any disturbance, but obviously I'd just like to keep that in mind, as far as cord grass or sea oats, something that if there's a level of disturbance that needs some treatment, I'd like to see that. But otherwise, I appreciate this project. Thank you.
Yeah, and as you can see, Judd, the road is in the box that Chris's, where the hand is there. That's the access road.
Yeah. So I would say any remediation around the structure itself, just making sure that, it is the dune field and sandy. I'm not expecting anything to wash away, but over time I know it'll patch itself up. But if there's anything that the town can do once construction's substantially complete, would be great.
All right, thank you, Judd. Ms. Lippert.
I think this is a great project. I think it's a great addition in what it does for the public. There's one tiny little notation I think that needs to get corrected, is on front elevation C4, the section marker, I believe, wants to be A1 instead of A2. And I think it's a clever detail of putting the cable rails in order to get to guardrail height and not obstruct the view from the seated position. So I think that's nice. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Annette. Mr. Molesky.
And I agree. I think it looks great. Nice little project. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, John. Ms. Foss.
Thank you. It is a great project, and I agree with the comments. Thanks, David, for asking the color question. Thanks, Judd, for the beach renourishment if anything's disturbed. And thanks, Annette, for finding the little detail. I'm in approval.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I think it's a slam dunk. Good job, Barry. So I'm going to, anyone need a second round? I don't believe you do. I'll go ahead and make a motion. Motion to approve Islanders Beach Park Overlook DRB 001184-2021 with the following comments and conditions. To assume the colors will match the picnic pavilion. Is that the right terminology, Barry? Picnic pavilion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any disturbance around the structure due to construction will be remediated, and correct the detail reference on detail sheet 4 AE-101. Any further discussion, comments, subtractions, additions? All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Foss. Teresa, would you please call roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. McAllister,
Yes.
Mr. Molesky,
Yes.
Mr. Karstens,
Yes.
Ms. Foss,
Yes.
Mr. Gentzman.
Yes, so passes unanimously. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you all.
Look forward to standing there and looking at the ocean. Yeah. And then going to
On
the
the cost
ocean.
of wood. We'll see how fast it gets done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do something about that cost of wood too while you're at it. So, all right, thanks, Barry.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
We move on to board business. Do we have any board business?
Ask a question?
Yes, absolutely. You're part of the board.
Sure, thank you. Oh, wow, okay. I was just curious, and this might be more relevant for like a preliminary review than necessarily conceptual. But I notice sometimes, people will come in with their exterior colors that they like, and then a lot of times, we'll share our comments and ask them to come back with an alternative. Is there any merit to maybe the first time around on their preliminary for them to kind of have an option A or option B for us to kind of debate to give them some direction, or does that just create more unnecessary confusion by having them provide an option A and an option B?
I personally, I'd rather have them show us what they want to do. And then if we get into the point where we're tweaking colors, like on the Lions, if it's a difference between this shade of blue gray versus this shade of blue gray, and they're coming back, I think it's a good heads up to maybe have one in their pocket. But I think for the first submittal, they should show us what they want. Because if it's a bronze, they're safe. If it's this kind of brown, it's safe. Anybody? It's an open discussion. Anybody feel differently?
So John, if I was understanding, are you saying rather than only at final, already having to present colors at concept?
Well, like the main thing is, and back to your point, Mr. or Michael, I'll just call you Michael a little bit, that maybe the folks making their submission, they might say, hey, word on the street is the DRB just likes bronze, so we're not even going to try to be creative. Let's just go ahead and give them what we kind of hear that they want. And maybe by having them come with those options, maybe they can present something that we would also find to be nature blending and still fit within the guidelines, but begin to deviate a little bit just from the same old. And if they go deviate too much, well, then at least we could kind of keep things progressing and not have to deny it or have them withdraw, but at least be in a position where we have that fallback is kind of my intent.
Yeah, I have no objection if somebody wants to bring in an alternate. I don't know that I would require them to do it, but and I like how you've described this as the place where creativity goes to die. So, it's kind of
I don't know what the word on the street is because I don't have that much time to spend on the street, but I just wonder if some people just kind of, hey, you know what, we just want to get in, get approved, and move on. So let's just kind of give them what we know that they approve and not venture outside the box,
Yeah, Chris, I don't think there's anything stopping people from bringing a alternate, right?
Well, I was just about to add, in the past, when we've been at in-person meetings, I have often recommended that they have something in their back pocket that they can pull out and show you all as a backup alternative, something that they are comfortable with and they think you all might be more comfortable with if their first initial option is dropped. That is a little bit more difficult over the phone or over Blue Jeans because I guess I think I agree with Michael. I think they should come forward with what they want and then hear your all's comments. But certainly staff is happy to adjust to accommodate however you all want to handle it.
Yeah, I think if they come in with something that might be kind of borderline, I think staff is more than qualified to maybe suggest that they have something in their back pocket. So, but either way, I'm fine with it. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, it sounds good.
Thanks.
I don't want them to have 4 or 5 options. That would get a little tedious.
And you know what? You just reminded me something. I forgot that they're kind of already making this presentation to staff. So that's where they could probably come with their more, off the wall or wish list color and then kind of be reined in if necessary before they even present to us. So good point.
Yeah. Because Chris can spot it. He'll say, oh, and that's not going to like that color. You better bring another one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of blue jeans and et cetera, are there any talk, Chris, of ever physically contacting again? There any,
Um, no, there's no talk at this point. I will tell you that council's going back to in-person meetings the middle of next month. And I have been told that they will meet a couple of times before they'll let other boards meet in person. So there's no talk, but you can see it on the horizon coming.
yeah, yeah. Because I guess I've never, well, I've known Judd before the board, but Annette and I have only met through video. So if we're in the grocery store shopping and we bump into each other, like, hey, you look familiar,
I know you.
it would be nice. It would be nice to get everybody to get the old gang back together. But I was just curious to see if
So I left no
anything was in the
impression
works.
that very first time I presented to the DRB and offered up my tire pump to you afterwards.
Yeah. All right, we digress.
I would like to ask Chris, maybe you brought it up in the last meeting that I was absent. Has there been any action on the pavilion beside the Gull Creek Boathouse restaurant?
No, ma'am, there hasn't. We've sent a letter out, but I haven't gotten a response back from that. I will try to be in a position to answer that question better at our next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, any more board chatter? All right, we'll close that one out. Do we have a staff report, Chris?
Yes, sir. There are 6 cell upgrades, and I'll run through this list of addresses real quick. You can ask me if you have any question about any one of those addresses. 91 Lighthouse, 92 Folly Field, 7 Palmetto Business Park, 99 South Sea Pines Drive, 105 Wild Horse, and 11 South Forest Beach. In addition to that, there were a path upgrades and additions at 133 Arrow Road, which is Hilton Head Motor Coach, and there was a fire pit patio approved at 11 South Forest Beach. Those were all minor corridors. Staff would like to remind you of a couple of things. Board training, which we discussed last meeting. I really need you all to look at those videos and let me know that you've done that, or let Teresa know. By June 30th is our deadline, and this is a state mandated requirement that we cannot get out of, even with the pandemic. The other thing is elections are also coming up. So the last meeting in June, we will have elections, as has been our what am I trying to say? Our practice in the past for the next year. So be thinking about elections, be thinking about if you want to serve or who you think might be a good chairman and vice chairman. And obviously we want to reelect Teresa, our esteemed secretary. And then last but not least is flood. There's been some questions about floodplains and the changes, and Sherry Mendrick, our floodplain manager, has asked, and I think it's a great idea, to make a presentation to the board, and she'll be doing that probably at the next meeting, depending on our agenda, to discuss that. And it's an opportunity for you all to ask questions, and anything of her, and she's the expert. And this is it affects the aesthetics of projects, so there's not real opportunity for you here. And we'll make it, I think we can make it so that can count towards your education this year. If you already have fulfilled it for this year, I'll see what I can do, and maybe we can count it for next year. And Teresa's shaking her head and saying, no, that won't work.
That won't work.
But we'll see.
Cool. Well, then we're not voting for Teresa for next year. Yeah. Yeah, that would be time well spent with Sherry, definitely. It's a little confusing, but once Sherry explains it, it's very clear. So.
And that's
it.
That's it. Yes, sir. That's it.
That's it for you. All right. Anybody? Nothing else? All right. With no other business before the board, this meeting is adjourned. See y'all. Bye.